Security dragged the bank owner toward the exit. She smiled and whispered 5 words that destroyed careers instantly. Tuesday, 2:47 p.m. Dr. Amelia Richardson entered Metropolitan Trust Bank's marble lobby wearing a navy blazer worth more than most monthly salaries. At 42, she moved with quiet confidence, earned through Harvard MBA programs, and building financial empires. Branch manager Marcus Webb barely glanced up. 28, fresh MBA, 3 months on the job. He saw a black woman and made instant assumptions. "Ma'am, this is a private institution. You can't just walk in here demanding things." Security stepped forward. Customers pulled out phones. The humiliation was deliberate, public, recorded. "People like you need to understand your place," Webb announced loud enough for everyone to hear. The lobby fell silent except for clicking phone cameras. Have you ever been so underestimated that your response changed everything? This is one of those real-life stories where black stories of quiet power reshape entire systems. Webb stood behind his mahogany desk, arms crossed. At 6'1", he literally looked down at Amelia's 5'3" frame. His voice carried that particular tone, reserved for people he considered beneath his station. "Listen, people like you come in here every day with complaints. This isn't that kind of bank." Amelia's expression remained perfectly calm. She placed her leather briefcase on the desk's edge. "I'm here to conduct routine business, nothing more." "Routine business?" Webb's laugh held no warmth. "Right, and I suppose you have an account here, worth our attention." The security guard, Rodriguez, stepped closer. 15 years on the job, he'd seen every type of customer dispute. Something felt different about this one, but Webb was his supervisor. 3 customers now openly stared. Sarah Martinez, streaming live on her Justice Watch account, whispered into her phone. "Y'all are seeing this, right? This manager is tripping hard." Her viewer count jumped from 200 to 1,200 in 30 seconds. Webb continued his performance. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to calm down before this escalates." "I haven't raised my voice once," Amelia replied evenly. "Your aggressive body language says otherwise." Assistant manager Lisa Chen emerged from the back office, drawn by the commotion. Ambitious, hard-working, she'd climbed from teller to management in 3 years. Her first instinct was supporting her supervisor. "Is there a problem here?" Chen asked. "This woman claims she has business with us," Webb explained. "No appointment, no documentation, just walked in, demanding special treatment." Chen studied Amelia's appearance. The blazer was clearly expensive. The handbag was genuine leather, not knockoff. Something didn't add up, but Webb was her boss. Amelia reached into her purse, retrieving her wallet. The movement was deliberate, unhurried. A platinum American Express Centurion card caught the light briefly before she closed the wallet. Webb missed it entirely. "Ma'am, I'm going to ask you one more time to leave peacefully," Webb announced loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Before we call the real police." Sarah's live stream exploded with comments. Viewers jumped from 1,200 to 5,400 in minutes. The chat scrolled rapidly with outrage and disbelief. "This is insane," Sarah whispered to her phone. "He's literally treating her like a criminal for existing while black in a bank." Other customers began recording too. Marcus Thompson, a local blogger with 40,000 followers, had just entered the bank. He immediately recognized the brewing situation and started his own video. The clock on the wall read 2:55 p.m. Amelia glanced at her watch, an understated Cartier that cost more than Webb's monthly salary. She seemed to be counting down something. "I'll give you exactly 2 more minutes," she said quietly. Webb's confidence soared. 2 minutes for what? To call security on yourself? Rodriguez shifted uncomfortably. The woman hadn't done anything threatening. She hadn't raised her voice, made demands, or caused any disturbance. His instincts told him to step back, but Webb's authority was clear. Chen pulled out her tablet, accessing the customer database. "What's your account number?" she asked, trying to de-escalate. Amelia smiled slightly. "That won't be necessary." "See?" Webb turned to the growing crowd. "No account, no business here. Just another troublemaker looking for a payday." The word "another" hung in the air like smoke. Everyone understood the implication. Sarah's viewer count hit 6,800. Comments poured in from across the country. Screenshots were already spreading on Twitter and Instagram. "Ma'am, you need to leave now," Webb declared. "Security, please escort her out." Rodriguez hesitated. "Sir, she hasn't actually done anything." "She's trespassing. Remove her." The moment crystallized. 4 separate phone cameras recorded from different angles. The bank's security system captured everything in high definition. Sarah's live stream reached 8,000 viewers. Amelia remained perfectly still in the center of the commotion. Surrounded by staff, security, and a growing crowd of customers, she showed no sign of stress or anger. Instead, she reached into her purse again. This time, she pulled out her phone. The device was sleek, expensive, with a custom case bearing discrete initials. AR. "A phone call will clarify everything," she said calmly. Webb's smug expression faltered slightly. Something in her tone suggested this wasn't an empty threat. Chen watched nervously as Amelia scrolled through her contacts. The name she selected wasn't visible to anyone else. The phone rang once. "James?" Amelia's voice was quiet but carried absolute authority. "Code 7 Protocol, Metropolitan Trust, Downtown Branch, immediately." She ended the call after 15 seconds. Webb laughed nervously. "Who exactly did you just call, your lawyer?" Amelia slipped the phone back into her purse. "Someone who actually works here." The clock showed 2:58 p.m. Outside the bank's floor-to-ceiling windows, downtown traffic continued its usual Tuesday rhythm. Inside, tension built like pressure in a sealed container. Webb looked around the room, suddenly aware that dozens of people were recording. His confidence wavered as he realized this incident was already viral. "Corporate security is probably laughing at your call right now," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Amelia checked her watch again. 90 seconds, she said quietly. The bank's atmosphere shifted perceptibly. What started as a routine customer service dispute had transformed into something resembling a public spectacle. Sarah's live stream viewer count climbed past 10,000 as word spread across social media platforms. Webb paced behind his desk, phone pressed to his ear. "Yes. I need corporate security to confirm something. We have a situation here." Chen pulled Rodriguez aside. "This feels wrong," she whispered. "Something's off about this whole thing." "I know," Rodriguez replied quietly. "She's not acting like someone who's lying." Thompson, the blogger, positioned himself for the best camera angle. His 40,000 Instagram followers were about to witness something significant. He could sense it, the way experienced journalists smell a breaking story. "Folks, this is Marcus Thompson reporting live from Metropolitan Trust Bank downtown," he whispered into his phone camera. "We're watching what appears to be a case of banking while black, but something tells me there's more to this story." Webb finished his call, looking slightly less confident. "Corporate confirms no VIP appointments scheduled today. No one by your description has authorization for special access." Amelia's smile was patient, almost maternal. "Did you give them my name?" "I don't know your name. You refused to provide identification." "You never asked for identification. You assumed I didn't belong here." The distinction hit like a slap. Several customers nodded, recognizing the truth in her words. Sarah's chat exploded with observations. Viewers dissected every detail of the interaction, noting Webb's assumptions and microaggressions. Screenshots circulated on Twitter with hashtags gaining momentum. The clock read 2:59 p.m. 60 seconds, Amelia announced. Webb's nervous energy increased. 60 seconds until what? Until your imaginary friend arrives? Until you understand who you're speaking to. Chen's tablet chimed with an incoming message. She glanced at the screen and froze. The message was from Regional VP James Morrison. Emergency situation downtown branch. En route immediately. Do not escalate further. She looked up at Amelia with dawning comprehension. Marcus, she said quietly, we might want to... Her words were cut off by the sound of hurried footsteps in the marble lobby. James Morrison burst through the bank's entrance, his usually perfect appearance disheveled from running. Morrison was a career banking executive, 23 years with Metropolitan Trust. He'd climbed from loan officer to regional vice president through careful political maneuvering and absolute competence. People didn't see him run, ever. His eyes swept the crowd until they found Amelia. Relief and terror crossed his face simultaneously. Dr. Richardson, he said breathlessly, I am so incredibly sorry. The name hit Webb like ice water. Richardson. Chen's tablet nearly slipped from her hands. She quickly accessed the corporate directory, typing with trembling fingers. Morrison approached Amelia with the reverence reserved for visiting royalty. Please accept my profound apologies for this misunderstanding. Webb's face drained of color. Miss Richardson, I didn't realize... Dr. Richardson, Amelia corrected gently. And you still don't realize... Sarah's live stream chat became a blur of activity. Thousands of viewers demanded explanations, theories, and updates. The viewer count surpassed 15,000 and climbing. Chen found what she was looking for in the corporate directory. Her face went white as she read the entry. Dr. Amelia Richardson, founder and CEO, board chair, majority shareholder. The woman they'd just tried to remove from the bank owned the bank. Morrison turned to Webb with barely controlled fury. Mr. Webb, Dr. Richardson founded this institution. She owns 67% of Metropolitan Trust Bank. The words landed like physical blows. Webb's legs seemed to give out slightly. He gripped his desk for support. Rodriguez stepped backward, instinctively distancing himself from the disaster he'd nearly participated in. There's a board meeting in 2 minutes. Amelia said calmly. I suggest you attend. Thompson's camera captured every moment. This was beyond viral content now. This was career-defining journalism happening in real time. The lobby fell silent, except for the whispered commentary from phone cameras and Sarah's live stream. Customers stared in fascination and horror at Webb's public humiliation. Morrison gestured toward the elevator bank. Dr. Richardson, please. The board is waiting upstairs. Webb's career flashed before his eyes. 3 months on the job. MBA from a mid-tier school. Student loans that would take 15 years to repay. All evaporating in real time. Dr. Richardson, please, I can explain. There's nothing to explain, Amelia interrupted. Your actions speak clearly. Chen approached hesitantly. Dr. Richardson, we had no idea. Mr. Webb handled the interaction, and Ms. Chen, isn't it? Amelia's tone was professional but not unkind. You're not the problem here. We'll discuss your role separately. Relief flooded Chen's face. She wasn't being lumped in with Webb's career suicide. Sarah addressed her live stream audience. Y'all, I cannot believe what just happened. This man just tried to kick the actual owner out of her own bank. This is going to be everywhere by tonight. Her prediction was conservative. Screenshots and video clips were already spreading across every major social platform. Banking while black began trending nationally within minutes. Morrison looked physically ill. As regional VP, this incident happened under his oversight. His own career prospects hung in the balance. Dr. Richardson, how would you like to proceed? He asked carefully. Amelia glanced at her watch. 3:01 p.m. The board meeting started a minute ago. I don't like being late. She moved toward the elevators with measured grace. Morrison followed like a nervous aide. The crowd parted automatically, phones still recording her every step. Webb remained frozen behind his desk, watching his professional life end in real time. Chen gathered her courage. "Should I come upstairs?" "Yes," Amelia replied without turning around. "Bring Mr. Webb." The elevator doors opened. Amelia stepped inside, followed by Morrison. They waited as Webb walked unsteadily across the marble floor, his confident swagger replaced by the stumble of a condemned man. Chen joined them, tablet clutched against her chest like armor. As the elevator doors closed, cutting off the view from the lobby, Sarah addressed her audience one final time before following the story upstairs. "Folks, this is just the beginning. We're about to see what happens when you mess with the wrong person." Her viewer count hit 22,000. The elevator began its ascent to the 47th floor, carrying 4 people whose lives had just changed forever. In the lobby below, customers and bystanders continued recording, knowing they'd witnessed something extraordinary. Outside, downtown traffic continued its Tuesday rhythm, oblivious to the corporate earthquake happening 47 floors above the street. Thompson posted his first social media update. "Breaking. Bank manager tries to kick out black woman. Plot twist, she owns the bank. Full video coming." Within minutes, his post had 5,000 shares. The story was no longer contained within Metropolitan Trust Bank's marble walls. It belonged to the internet now, and the internet never forgets. The elevator climbed silently toward the 47th floor. Morrison stood pressed against the back wall, sweat visible on his forehead despite the climate control. Webb stared at the floor numbers ascending, each one marking another step toward professional. Chen clutched her tablet, mind racing through the implications. She'd assisted in trying to remove the bank's founder from her own building. Career suicide by association. Amelia stood perfectly composed, hands folded, watching the numbers climb with mild interest. "Dr. Richardson," Morrison began carefully, "I want you to know that Mr. Webb's actions don't reflect our institutional values or training protocols." "Don't they?" Amelia's question was quiet but pointed. The elevator chimed softly as they passed the 30th floor. Webb finally found his voice. "Dr. Richardson, I had no idea who you were. If you'd just identified yourself, would that have mattered, Mr. Webb?" Her question hung in the recycled air. They all knew the answer. 43rd floor. "I mean, yes, absolutely, of course it would have mattered," Webb stammered. "So you treat people differently based on who they are rather than treating everyone with basic respect?" 45th floor. Morrison watched this masterclass in executive interrogation with horrified fascination. Dr. Richardson wasn't raising her voice or making threats. She was simply asking questions that dismantled Webb's position with surgical precision. 46th floor. "That's not what I meant," Webb protested weakly. "Then what did you mean?" 47th floor. The elevator doors opened to reveal Metropolitan Trust's executive level. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered panoramic views of the city. The reception area featured original artwork and furniture that cost more than most people's annual salaries. The board meeting was already in session. Through glass conference room walls, 12 figures sat around a polished mahogany table. Chairman Robert Sterling, 71 years old, had mentored Amelia through her early investment banking career. His silver hair and tailored suits concealed a razor-sharp business mind. Morrison approached the conference room doors with visible reluctance. Inside, the board members were reviewing quarterly reports, unaware of the crisis developing in their building's lobby 30 minutes earlier. Sterling looked up as the doors opened. His face immediately registered concern at seeing Morrison's disheveled appearance and the unusual entourage. "James, is everything all right?" Sir, we have a Code 7 situation, Morrison announced formally. The room fell silent. Code 7 indicated potential legal liability requiring immediate board attention. Sterling's eyes found Amelia, and his expression shifted to confusion. Amelia? What's happening? She entered the conference room with the same measured confidence she'd shown downstairs. Webb and Chen followed like prisoners being led to sentencing. "Good afternoon, everyone," Amelia said calmly. "I apologize for the disruption, but we need to address an incident that occurred in our downtown branch 40 minutes ago." Board members exchanged glances. Dr. Patricia Williams, the board's only other black member, sensed something significant brewing. "Please, sit." Sterling gestured to empty chairs. Amelia remained standing. "Thank you, but I prefer to present the facts clearly." She opened her briefcase, retrieving a tablet. With practiced efficiency, she connected it to the room's presentation system. Sarah's live stream appeared on the main screen. This footage was broadcast live on social media 30 minutes ago. It currently has 47,000 viewers and climbing. The board watched in growing horror as the incident unfolded. Webb's voice filled the conference room. "People like you come in here every day with complaints." Board member David Chen, no relation to Lisa, visibly cringed. "Oh my God." The footage continued. Webb's dismissive attitude, his assumptions, his escalating hostility toward a customer who'd done nothing wrong. When Morrison burst into the frame, calling her Dr. Richardson, several board members gasped. "Jesus Christ," Sterling muttered. The video paused at the moment Webb's face showed recognition and terror. "This incident was witnessed by approximately 200 people in our lobby," Amelia continued. "It was live-streamed to over 50,000 viewers across multiple platforms. Screenshots are currently trending on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok." She clicked to the next slide, showing social media analytics in real time. Banking while black is trending nationally. Metropolitan Trust is trending regionally. Local news stations have already picked up the story. Board member Sarah Kim, the communications expert, looked physically ill. The PR implications are catastrophic. "Mr. Webb," Amelia addressed him directly for the first time since entering the boardroom. "Would you like to explain your actions to the board?" Webb's mouth opened and closed without sound. Finally, I made a mistake?" "What specifically was your mistake?" "I didn't recognize you." "Try again." The room waited. Webb's career hung on his next words. I made assumptions based on..." He couldn't finish the sentence. "Based on what, Mr. Webb?" Sterling leaned forward. 23 years of banking experience told him this conversation was being recorded for legal purposes. "I made assumptions about who belonged in our bank," Webb finally admitted. The confession hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Dr. Williams spoke first. "Mr. Webb, are you saying you determined Dr. Richardson didn't belong in our bank based on her race?" No, that's not... I mean, it's a simple yes or no question." Webb's career ended in that moment of silence. Amelia clicked to the next slide. "Our corporate charter, which I personally drafted, contains explicit anti-discrimination clauses. Policy 847 establishes zero tolerance for bias-based customer service." She clicked again. "The legal implications are significant. Mr. Webb's actions exposed Metropolitan Trust to potential civil rights violations, discrimination lawsuits, and federal banking regulation violations." General Counsel Marcus Reed took notes frantically. The legal exposure was enormous. "However," Amelia continued, "I'm not here to destroy careers or seek monetary damages." Relief flickered across several faces. "I'm here to ensure this never happens again." She clicked to a new slide showing policy proposals. "I'm proposing comprehensive reforms, mandatory bias training for all customer-facing employees, monthly diversity audits for all branches, customer interaction monitoring systems with bias flagging capabilities. Board member Thompson raised his hand. What about Mr. Webb? Amelia looked at Webb directly. Mr. Webb has a choice: immediate resignation with standard severance or termination for cause with no benefits. Webb's shoulders slumped. I'll resign. Amelia Chen, Amelia continued. Your response to the situation shows you can learn from this experience. You'll receive bias training and a 6-month probationary period. Chen nodded gratefully. Thank you, Dr. Richardson. Sterling cleared his throat. Amelia, what do you need from us? Full board approval for the policy changes, implementation within 30 days, and a public statement reaffirming our commitment to serving all customers equally. The board voted unanimously. As members began filing out, discussing implementation details, Webb approached Amelia one final time. Dr. Richardson, I'm sorry, I really am. She studied his face for a moment. Mr. Webb, I believe you're sorry you got caught. Whether you're sorry for your actions remains to be seen. Webb left the conference room a broken man. Morrison lingered behind. Dr. Richardson, I take full responsibility for inadequate oversight. James, this isn't about you, but use this as a learning experience. Our managers need better training in unconscious bias recognition. Absolutely. I'll personally oversee the implementation. As the boardroom emptied, Sterling approached Amelia. 47,000 viewers? Last I checked, yes. This could have been a disaster. Instead, it's an opportunity. We're going to become the banking industry leader in bias prevention. Sterling smiled slightly. You always were 3 steps ahead of everyone else. Outside the conference room windows, the city continued its Tuesday rhythm. But inside Metropolitan Trust Bank, everything had changed. The incident that began with assumptions and prejudice had transformed into systematic reform. Sometimes the most powerful response to discrimination isn't anger or litigation. Sometimes it's simply proving them wrong. The boardroom had emptied except for Sterling, Amelia, and Morrison. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, late afternoon sunlight cast long shadows across downtown. The city looked peaceful from 47 floors up, oblivious to the corporate earthquake that had just reshaped Metropolitan Trust Bank. Sterling poured himself coffee from the executive service station. His hands were steadier now, but the incident's implications weighed heavily on his experienced shoulders. 67% controlling interest, he said quietly. Sometimes I forget you literally own this place. Amelia smiled slightly. Most people do. That's usually fine. But not today. Not today. Morrison checked his tablet, monitoring the social media storm developing around the incident. Dr. Richardson, the footage has reached 120,000 views. CNN's business desk just called our communications department. Amelia wasn't surprised. Expected timeline for national news coverage? 6 hours, maybe less. The story has everything networks love. Clear villain, shocking reversal, social justice angle. Sterling set down his coffee cup. Talk to me about exposure. What are we looking at legally? Amelia pulled up financial projections on the main screen. Her preparation was thorough, as always. Potential civil rights lawsuit exposure. $12 million in damages plus legal fees. Federal banking discrimination investigation could trigger comprehensive audits costing another $8 million. Reputation damage to our brand value is harder to quantify, but comparable incidents have cost competitors 15 to 20% of their customer base. The numbers sobered everyone in the room. However, she continued, proactive reform implementation reduces legal exposure significantly. Public commitment to change, documented policy improvements, and transparent accountability measures typically result in settlements under $2 million. Morrison looked up from his tablet. You've already calculated the cost-benefit analysis. I calculated it while riding the elevator upstairs. Sterling laughed, despite the circumstances. 15 years I've watched you work, and you still amaze me. Amelia clicked to the next slide, showing detailed reform proposals. The Amelia Protocol. Yes, I'm naming it after myself. Addresses unconscious bias at every customer interaction level. Initial implementation cost, $4.7 million. Annual maintenance cost, $2.1 million. She paused, letting the numbers sink in. Current quarterly revenue, $847 million. These reforms represent less than 1% of annual income, while preventing potentially catastrophic legal and reputation costs. Morrison was taking notes rapidly. Implementation timeline: 30 days for policy changes, 60 days for technology deployment, 90 days for comprehensive staff training, full audit and compliance review after 6 months. Sterling studied the projections carefully. ROI projections: improved customer satisfaction typically increases account retention by 12%. Positive publicity from leading industry reform efforts could increase new account acquisition by 18%. Conservative estimate: additional revenue of $62 million annually. The business case was overwhelming. There's more, Amelia continued. She clicked to market analysis data. 3 major competitors have faced similar discrimination incidents in the past 18 months. None implemented comprehensive reforms. They're vulnerable to customer defection if we position ourselves as the ethical alternative. She highlighted specific market opportunities. Minority-owned business banking represents $43 billion in untapped market potential in our region. Our current market share in that demographic is 8%. Industry-leading bias prevention could triple our market share within 2 years. Morrison whistled softly at the numbers. But this isn't just about money, Amelia emphasized. It's about institutional integrity. I founded Metropolitan Trust to serve everyone equally. Today's incident violated our core mission. Sterling nodded slowly. What do you need from leadership? Full executive commitment to change. Zero tolerance for discrimination at any level. Public accountability for our progress. She clicked to the final slide. Specific accountability measures. Monthly diversity reports from every branch manager. Quarterly bias training assessments for all customer-facing employees. Annual independent audits of our discrimination prevention protocols. Morrison raised a concern. Staff resistance. Some employees might view this as excessive oversight. Employees who view bias prevention as excessive oversight probably shouldn't work here, Amelia replied flatly. The room fell silent as that truth settled. Sterling's phone buzzed with an urgent message. He glanced at the screen and frowned. Webb just posted a LinkedIn statement, quote, I deeply regret the misunderstanding that occurred today. I was simply following standard security protocols, end quote. Amelia's expression hardened. He's not taking responsibility. He's minimizing his actions. Morrison pulled up Webb's LinkedIn post on his tablet. He's calling it a misunderstanding and claiming he followed protocols. Screenshot that, Amelia instructed. His failure to accept responsibility demonstrates exactly why systematic change is necessary. Sterling stood and walked to the windows, looking down at the street below. You know, in 23 years of banking, I've seen dozens of discrimination incidents. Most get buried with quiet settlements and gag orders. He turned back to face Amelia. You're doing something different. You're making this public and using it to force industry-wide change. Because quiet settlements don't prevent the next incident. They just hide the problem. Morrison's tablet chimed with another alert. Dr. Richardson, the local NAACP chapter, wants to meet with you. They're offering to endorse our reform efforts publicly. Schedule it. Community partnership will be crucial for credibility. Sterling returned to the table. Timeline for public announcement? Tomorrow morning, Full press conference announcing the Amelia Protocol implementation. We control the narrative by being proactive instead of reactive. She began packing her materials with the same efficiency she'd shown throughout the crisis. Media strategy? Morrison asked. Complete transparency. We acknowledge the incident, take responsibility for institutional failures, and present comprehensive solutions. No defensiveness, no minimizing, no blame-shifting. Sterling smiled grimly. The opposite of Webb's approach. Exactly. Amelia's phone buzzed with a message from her assistant. She glanced at it and nodded. The mayor's office wants to discuss making Metropolitan Trust the official banking partner for the city's Minority Business Development Initiative. Morrison looked impressed. You've turned a PR disaster into a business opportunity. I've turned a teaching moment into systematic change. The business benefits are secondary. She stood, gathering her briefcase and tablet. Gentlemen, I'll see you at tomorrow's press conference. James, I'll need those implementation timelines by 8 a.m. You'll have them, Morrison promised. As Amelia moved toward the door, Sterling called after her. Amelia? What you did today? Handling that situation with such grace and turning it into positive change? That's leadership. She paused at the door. Robert, what I did today was basic human dignity. The fact that it seems exceptional is exactly why we need these reforms. The elevator arrived quickly. As the doors closed, Amelia could see Sterling and Morrison already deep in planning discussions. 47 floors below, the lobby had returned to normal banking operations. But everything had changed. Webb's career was over. Chen had learned a valuable lesson about enabling discrimination. Morrison faced the biggest professional challenge of his career. The entire institution was about to undergo unprecedented transformation, and in a few hours the story would be national news. The elevator descended smoothly, carrying the woman who had transformed humiliation into systematic reform. Outside the bank's glass facade, Tuesday afternoon traffic continued its usual rhythm. But inside Metropolitan Trust Bank, history had just been made. Sometimes the most powerful response to being underestimated is simply proving them wrong. Sometimes changing the world starts with changing one institution. Sometimes the best revenge is massive success paired with meaningful reform. The elevator reached the lobby level. The doors opened to reveal a space that looked exactly the same as it had 2 hours earlier. But appearances could be deceiving. Everything had changed. 6 weeks later, Metropolitan Trust Bank's downtown branch hummed with a different energy. The same marble floors reflected the same chandelier light, but everything else had transformed. Maria Gonzalez, the new branch manager, reviewed morning reports at what used to be Webb's desk. Promoted from assistant manager at the suburban branch, she brought 15 years of banking experience and a reputation for inclusive customer service. The changes were immediately visible. Bias prevention posters lined the walls. Digital monitors displayed the bank's anti-discrimination policy in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. Customer service representatives wore badges reading "Respect for All." Chen approached Gonzalez's desk with her monthly diversity report. 6 weeks of intensive bias training had changed her perspective fundamentally. Monthly statistics, Chen announced. Customer satisfaction up 18%. Complaint reports down 63%. Employee confidence in handling discrimination situations up 41%. Gonzalez reviewed the numbers with satisfaction. Any concerning incidents? 2 minor situations, both handled appropriately using the new protocols. Full documentation filed with corporate. The Amelia Protocol had exceeded expectations. Every customer interaction was now guided by bias prevention principles. Monthly training sessions kept discrimination awareness sharp. Anonymous reporting systems encouraged staff to identify problematic behavior before it escalated. Rodriguez, the security guard, had become an unexpected advocate for the changes. His 15 years of experience made him a valuable trainer for new policies. "I've seen discrimination happen dozens of times," he told new employees during orientation. "The Amelia Protocol gives us tools to prevent it instead of just reacting after damage is done." The technology implementation had been remarkably smooth. Customer interaction monitoring systems flagged potential bias incidents in real time. Managers received immediate alerts when conversations showed discriminatory patterns. Chen's tablet chimed with an alert now. A teller's interaction with an elderly Asian customer had triggered the bias detection algorithm. She reviewed the conversation transcript quickly. The teller had repeatedly asked the customer to speak more clearly, despite the customer's perfectly understandable English. "Coaching opportunity," Chen muttered, heading toward the teller stations. This was exactly what the system was designed to catch. Before the Amelia Protocol, such microaggressions would have gone unnoticed and uncorrected. 20 minutes later, the teller had received gentle correction and the customer had received exceptional service. The incident became a learning moment rather than a lawsuit. Webb's replacement couldn't have been more different. Gonzalez treated every customer with identical respect, regardless of appearance, accent, or account balance. Her branch led the bank system in customer satisfaction scores. The public response had been overwhelmingly positive. Metropolitan Trust stock price had risen 12% since implementing the reforms. New account openings increased 31%, particularly among minority customers. Local business leader Marcus Thompson published a follow-up article in Forbes titled, "How One CEO Turned Discrimination into Industry Leadership." The piece highlighted Metropolitan Trust as a case study in proactive bias prevention. Sarah Martinez, the woman who live-streamed the original incident, had become an unofficial spokesperson for the changes. Her follow-up videos documenting the bank's transformation earned millions of views. "Y'all, this is how you handle a situation," she told her expanded audience. "Not with lawsuits or boycotts, but with real change that helps everybody." The ripple effects extended far beyond Metropolitan Trust. 3 competitor banks had announced similar bias prevention initiatives. The American Banking Association requested Amelia's reform framework as a model for industry-wide adoption. Federal banking regulators praised the proactive approach. Instead of facing investigation, Metropolitan Trust became a compliance model for other institutions. Webb's career trajectory had taken a predictable turn. After 3 weeks of unemployment, he'd found work at a small credit union in a different state. His LinkedIn profile no longer mentioned the Metropolitan Trust incident, but internet searches told the complete story. His replacement interview had been thorough. Gonzalez underwent extensive bias awareness testing before hiring. Her approach to customer service emphasized dignity and respect for all. "Every person who walks through our doors deserves our best service," became her signature phrase during staff meetings. The cultural transformation was measurable. Employee satisfaction surveys showed marked improvement. Staff reported feeling more confident in handling difficult situations. The bias reporting system had received 0 complaints about discrimination in 6 weeks. Community partnerships flourished. The local NAACP chapter endorsed Metropolitan Trust publicly. The Hispanic Chamber of Commerce moved their business banking relationship to the downtown branch. The mayor's Minority Business Development Initiative officially partnered with the bank. Amelia's $5 million Minority Business Loan Fund had already approved funding for 12 startup companies. The initiative generated positive publicity while serving underrepresented entrepreneurs. Corporate headquarters tracked every metric obsessively. The reforms had cost $4.7 million to implement, but revenue increases already exceeded $8 million. The return on investment was undeniable. Sterling reviewed quarterly reports with genuine amazement. Customer retention up 15%, New account acquisition up 28%. Employee turnover down 42%. The numbers told a story of institutional transformation that went beyond compliance. Metropolitan Trust had become the regional leader in inclusive banking. Morrison had emerged as a champion of the changes. His oversight of implementation had been flawless. Regional branches competed to achieve the best bias prevention scores. The Amelia Protocol isn't just policy, he told other executives. It's competitive advantage. We're attracting customers specifically because of our commitment to equality. The technology investment had proven particularly valuable. Bias detection algorithms continued learning from each interaction, becoming more sophisticated at identifying subtle discrimination patterns. Chen had been promoted to assistant regional manager, her probationary period ending early due to exceptional performance. She now trained other managers in bias prevention techniques. The incident that almost ended my career became the catalyst for my promotion, she reflected during a company training video. Change is possible when leadership commits to real reform. Industry recognition followed quickly. Metropolitan Trust received the National Diversity in Banking Award. Amelia was invited to speak at 3 major financial conferences about bias prevention. The original viral video had been viewed over 2 million times across all platforms. Comments sections became forums for sharing discrimination experiences and celebrating systemic change. But the most meaningful transformation was cultural. Bank employees genuinely believed in serving all customers equally. The change wasn't just policy compliance. It was authentic institutional evolution. Webb's departure had created space for authentic leadership. Gonzalez's approach demonstrated that excellent customer service and bias prevention were inseparable. 1 year later, Dr. Amelia Richardson stood in the same marble lobby where everything had changed. The annual diversity celebration filled the space with employees, community leaders, and customers whose lives had been touched by the transformation. Maria Gonzalez presented the branch's achievements: highest customer satisfaction scores in the bank's history, 0 discrimination complaints, and 34% increase in minority business accounts. Sarah Martinez, now a paid consultant for the bank's community outreach program, documented the celebration on her social media channels. Her original live stream had become a case study in how viral moments could create positive change. A year ago, this lobby was a place of humiliation, she told her audience. Today, it's a symbol of what's possible when people commit to real change. Rodriguez, now head of security training for all Metropolitan Trust branches, addressed the crowd about the importance of intervention when discrimination occurs. Silence enables discrimination, he emphasized. Speaking up prevents it. The statistical transformation was remarkable. Metropolitan Trust had become the fastest-growing bank in the region. Competitor institutions sent representatives to study their bias prevention protocols. Webb's story had taken an unexpected turn. After 8 months of unemployment and soul-searching, he'd enrolled in diversity and inclusion graduate studies. His thesis examined unconscious bias in financial services. "I can't undo what I did," he wrote in a public Medium article, "but I can ensure others learn from my mistakes." Chen, now regional diversity officer, managed bias prevention training for 1,200 employees across 47 branches. Her transformation from reluctant participant to passionate advocate inspired others. The Amelia Protocol had been adopted by 17 banks nationwide. Federal regulators were considering making it mandatory for all financial institutions with over $1 billion in assets. Amelia's influence extended beyond banking. She'd been appointed to the Federal Reserve's Community Development Advisory Council. Her expertise in discrimination prevention was reshaping financial industry standards. The original incident had generated lasting change, extending far beyond one bank. Universities taught case studies about transforming discrimination into systematic reform. Business schools analyzed the leadership principles demonstrated during the crisis. Community impact was equally significant. The Minority Business Loan Fund had provided over $40 million in startup capital. Unemployment in underserved neighborhoods had decreased measurably. Corporate partnerships had multiplied. Metropolitan Trust became the preferred banking partner for minority-owned businesses throughout the region. Account acquisition costs had dropped while customer lifetime value increased. The story continued inspiring people worldwide. Translations appeared in 12 languages. International banking conferences featured presentations about the Amelia Protocol's global applications. But the most meaningful change was cultural. Bank employees genuinely embraced inclusive service principles. Customers felt welcomed and respected, regardless of their background or account balance. Young professionals, particularly women of color, viewed Metropolitan Trust as an employer of choice. Recruitment had never been easier. The incident that began with assumptions and prejudice had transformed into a model for institutional change. Discrimination had been met with dignity, wisdom, and systematic reform. These touching stories prove that Black stories of courage and intelligence can reshape entire industries. Life stories like Dr. Richardson's demonstrate how real-life stories of resilience create lasting change. Your experiences matter. Share them in the comments below. Tell us about times when you've been underestimated or discriminated against. Your story could inspire the next positive transformation. Subscribe for more stories of people who turn challenges into opportunities for systemic change. Share this video with someone who needs to see that dignity and intelligence can overcome any prejudice. Together, we can create a world where everyone is treated with the respect they deserve.